are going to ban out the Petal against Bren Esports. Definitely a lot of top teams here just respecting Bren Esports, Mr. Jim, on this weapon Petal.
Yeah, it is quite a common occurrence against Mr. Jim. He isn't allowed to play his weapon petal. Does leave Vox open, so that's going to be a first pick once again. We've seen Vox win an awful lot of matches, even against the Black Feather. So that's a pretty good pick for Bren Esports. Happy to get that, secure that Vox as a first pick. I reckon Bren Esports are going to ban Alpha as their next ban. It's a nice, easy ban. No reason to give it over to the side of Renagades. And I think unless Renagades decide to first pick the Alpha, I think that would be a fine decision. They're going to get the Arden instead, secure that captain for themselves, and the Lance ban's likely to come through.
Yep, it's either they ban out the Lance, if not then Lyra. Lyra just worked very, very well with that of Vox in the early game into mid as well. And the Bright Bulwark Jenny would stop Arden in a lot of his endeavors, if I would have put it that way. However, RNG really has got an entire roster open up for them. They can go back to the comfort picks of that of Adagio if they really want to, and it's just down to whether or not Bren Esports will just secure that of Alpha. But now the next pick after this ban will go over to RNG, so Bren Esports really have to think about their bans coming into this particular draft. We do see the Lyra being banned out by the side of RNG just to deprive Bren Esports of it. So we do see a Ryan being banned out. Easy
that's
Alpha.
Tempting. Yeah, that's tempting from Bren Esports. They have the decision of, okay, do we ban Alpha or do we try and pick it? They've certainly gone for the let's try and pick it decision. They think maybe we'll bait them to picking Kestrel or Baron or something like that, and we can just sneak our Alpha in. And they have, Renegades have gone for it. They've gone with what I think Bren Esports wanted them to do, which is pick a carry, pick their Kestrel. And Kestrel, we've talked about it throughout the entire draft. It seems obvious to pick Alpha now. It's great against Kestrel. You could just dive in, and they pick the Finn up. Still got a Crystal Power carry left. There could be something else. They're going to go for the Fortress to counter Kestrel. So that is a more direct counter, but not as strong in the meta. Crystal Fortress did get a pretty significant nerf when 2.9 hit. He got 2% reduction in his damage, and the increased health changes really hurt his bleed proc as well. So it's going to be all on that Vox to deal as much damage as possible. Now the last pick from Renegades, they've got their own Crystal Power jungler to pick. I think somebody like an Ozo could do great against the Fortress. Just jump on those wolves, make it really easy.
Yeah, but one thing for sure, it's that the Mortal Wound definitely will nerf Ozo's healing as well. Granted, Ozo would have a Carney Luck perk, but the Alpha will be picked up by the side of Renegades. Alpha does very well against Fortress in the early game, but your Prime Directive will be quite difficult with all three wolves just around you or around your allies. You might just, misclick, mistap, hit on the wolves, and
you can't Prime Directive on a wolf. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think it counts as a lane minion and a petal minion. I think because it's a summon, isn't it? A Fortress Wolves, it counts as summons. So it's like a petal minion. You can't Prime Directive on a wolf, which is really good for Alpha.
Wait, so
it can work well.
I think that's changed, because I remembered once I actually Prime Directive on Fortress's wolf.
Maybe it does work like jungle minions then, because it's really odd, because lane minions don't work with Prime Directive, jungle minions do, and they count as a summon. You might be right, I might be misremembering, but that would be pretty disastrous for Alpha. She can still gain core charge stacks off wolves anyway, even if she has to wait to Prime Directive until they've all been killed. But that would really be a really tough play for Alpha if she has to wait until all the wolves are dead until she can safely try and Prime Directive.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I'm pretty much wrong there. Apologies in advance, because
we're going to find out. We're going to find out in this game, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I think you're right, because I cannot quite remember as to. But anyways, yeah, I really like this Alpha pickup if that's the case, because you can just jump on to Vox, ignoring that of Fortress, because Fortress in the early game don't quite really have the damage anyways. He will go for the Stormcrown banner into an Aftershock, very much like a Taka. When Fortress gets the Aftershock, it's when the damage, when the cooldowns of the wolves come about, and they can just start, just committing into team fights properly. Whereas when you look over to the side of Renegades, they can just have the very early aggression with that Castro. When I talk about early aggression, not maybe in lane, but probably in jungle, just to starve the fortress out before the 4th-minute mark.
Yeah, I think the fortress is going to be really quite weak early on. That's how fortress tends to work. So Stormguard banner is definitely a good pick. I think it's necessary. Don't know if we're going to see the Storm Crown off straight into Aftershock. Aftershock works well against Alpha, works well against Kestrel, and so that is an important buy to get as early as possible. But before 4 minutes in, Alpha can invade. At level 2, Alpha's going to win that fight with almost no problems. Even against the Finn, they've got an Arden, which should be fine. Whereas once it gets towards level 5, level 6, that's when Alpha gets really strong. At level 6, she becomes basically the best hero in the game. Alpha at level 6 will beat almost anyone else at an equal gold stand, because that ultimate just gives you so much, gives you damage, gives you 2 lives, forces the enemy to back away from you, and you're normally going to have an aftershock at that point. But then again, the Sentry is spawned when Alpha hits level 6, so it's way harder to try and steal farm. And if you do secure some kills, you only get maybe a front healing camp from it.
Yeah, definitely. So, into this game, like we mentioned before, Vox do very well against a Castro because of the poison shift pickup. You can just out-sustain a Castro's burst. But we do see how RNG likes to play. They are very aggressive in terms of their movements and, their maneuvers coming into mid-game. But however, we will not be seeing Spaghetti playing on the Castro this time. So we might see a slightly different play style coming out from the side of Renagades, going up against Bren Esports, and whether or not they will just play passive, because I personally think Renagades do understand the enemies they are up against. Bren Esports is no wishy-washy team. They are a team that's very well built, very well synergized as well.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's going to be tough for Renegades. They know what they're up against. They know what they have to do, and it is down to execution. So what are we going to see? Are we going to see Alpha continuing her 100% win streak, going to turn 3 out of 3 into 4 out of 4 for the side of Renegades? Or will Bren Esports, with this carry fortress, Crystal Power Fortress in the jungle, come through and turn it around? Let us know what you think in the chat. Hashtag Ren or hashtag Bren. That's a pretty interesting distinction that you've got between these two teams. I think I'm going to go on the side of Alpha. I think we are mainly on the side of Alpha. And I'm actually really confused as to what happens with Attack of the Pack and Prime Directive. I hope at least one fight happens, which we actually get to see that interaction. But we are now loading into the Halcyon Fold for the first game of the 3rd and 4th place playoff between Bren Esports and Renegades. And so always with level 1 rotation, it's not going to be too aggressive from either side. Fortress doesn't want to go in, and neither does Alpha. Or maybe they do. It looks like Shingi could be going much more aggressive than we've seen Alpha go before.
Yeah, but usually as an aggressive Alpha, you start off with double Crystal Bit. That way you have just got so much more damage on your core charge. But they will just settle for that Elder Triad and will be secured by Uni on that Castro. Guessing tried to steal the Polite Company, but it was a tad too early. And even in the early game, your Polite Company couldn't quite do as much damage as you like. So definitely a very big objective that a lot of teams have been putting emphasis on. But the entirety of Bren Esports will be moving into lane as Uni and Chingy will clear out the jungle together.
Yep, Shingy does seem like Alpha is going to be a hero that he is comfortable on. Shingy likes those assassins, like dive heroes. Alpha works perfectly for that, going in onto the vaults. And yeah, I thought it might be an aggressive 3-man invade start from Renegade, but it was just a 3-man rotation to the Elder Tree and try and secure that over 100 gold for their team, which they did manage to do. Uni, as you said, picked it up. So the gold pretty even because Vox managed to get slightly ahead in lane. Uni took away some of the jungle camps away from Shingy, which means his lane farm isn't as good. SNK doing a little bit of poke. Whipple going to come down from getting X, and Alpha once again able to secure this Elder Tree for himself. And now Shingy just going to rotate back towards the jungle. Uni's taking a little bit of pressure in lane. There is a protector contract on SNK, and he's just trying to blood for blood, do a damage on Mr. Jim. He's doing quite a lot. Whipple does miss. Mr. Jim's going quite low. He's forced to back to the base, and Uni will be happy with that. He wants to back as well. We're going to let this wave equalise. 4 minions v 4 minions. Yeah, everyone backing up.
Yep, and it's quite deceiving actually, Vox's early game damage, because it just drops in ticks. It doesn't drop in, like, say, a glimmer shot. It doesn't chunk down your health. So a lot of times, and we see a lot of players as well, just constantly just standing in a resonance bound zone of Vox in order to just get 1 or 2 creep. I mean, yes, as a laner, that is very, very important, your farm, just to carry yourself into the late game. You need these extra gold, but you know, just tick damage coming out from Mr. Jim will be quite immense if you just add it all together, and with the amount of minions just, you know, helping Mr. Jim to stay in position, blocking out those glimmer shots coming out from Uni. The laning phase for Uni definitely not an easy one. Mr. Jim though, not settling for a point shift just yet, instead having that and probably going for their broken mid, or rather breaking point.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be either Breaking Point or Solar Blade first on Fox. Works well. There's no real need for the Poison Shiv because there's only an Ardent Vanguard. Mr. Jim's not going to build any kind of sustain. Alpha's only going to have Aftershock for sustain, so no real need to get that mortal wound. You've got Fortress is already going to apply one, and so yeah, the Vox getting one as well would be useful against healers, but as you're not against a healer, there's really no need. You might as well get more damage. Sig1 is going to port home back to the base, and Yudi's just going to farm the wave up, and again, we're going to see defense. We said that Alpha, interesting glimmer shot from Uni there into the base, into the bush, but we said that Alpha could be aggressive against Fortress early on in this game, but Shingy's gone for the different strategy of just wait till level 6. No need to try and be too aggressive and make mistakes. Just go and farm up. I think it's risky because, as we said, Alpha has a really much stronger early game than Fortress, and so they're putting themselves in all the eggs into the mid to late game basket with Weapon Kestrel, which can work fine, but I think it would have been more secure and more likely to get an earlier win if they'd have gone more aggressive.
Yeah, they just you know, pressure that a Fortress, Sync1 in this Fortress, it definitely would have the upper hand coming through, but Chingy Prime Directive onto the tower, trying to just put down damage onto that tower, the tier 1 tower right there, but Mr. Jim will come up onto lane as with Sync1. Now, Sync1 completing the Storm Guard, or rather the Storm Crown now, will put out a little more damage as compared to when he's just got a Storm Guard banner, but you know, even then, Sync1 cannot quite apply that pressure. He needs that level 6, he needs to get the ultimate, he needs to get that Aftershock as well. This is something that we've talked about before the game even started. And, you know, Chingy can actually deprive Sync1 of these farm, but Chingy just not playing very, very aggressive, and instead we do see Sync1 just going into the mid-terrain and just removing farm away from Chingy.
Yeah, going to be a little bit of farm stolen away, but really nothing to increase this gold lead at all. And Uni got the Sword Blade, got himself a Weapon Infusion pocketed and a Minion's Foot. This is a good time for Renegade to fight. There's been lots of good times, but this is even better. Aftershock, ultimate on Shingy, ultimate infusion on Uni. We are going to have a fight. There's going to be an engage on Sync1 on Kestrel. Kestrel pops that weapon infusion, and Uni going to get the Vanguard. There's a nice minion wave pushing in for Renegade. That's going to be minion candied by SNK. Sync1 can take a bit of damage. He's going to be forced to use, not use anything, but use his Packmate's perk to run away. And now Uni pushing this wave a bit further. Shingy, the wave hope quibble comes down. Sync1 looking to try and get through the tooth, but not actually going to pop it on Alpha. One shot, a little bit wide. Guessing X able to dodge that away. Now Renegade are trying to chase his tier 1 turret down. He's taking a lot of damage. Uni is poking with those glimmer shots. Shingy's looking for this next wave. As soon as it comes, they're going to try and clear it. Some glimmer shots just to poke away Guessing X. He has got his fountain, so he's not going to be in too much trouble. Alpha was looking for a treant to get some core charge stacks, but it's not up. So Shingy going to be forced to just try and get onto this turret to get any core charge stacks, as Kestrel is glimmer shotting from afar. Tier 1 turret going low. Shingy going to get dodging the wait for it actually, but it's going to take a little bit of damage trying to siege down this tier 1 turret. And Uni is going so aggressive with this Kestrel, so forward positioning. Alpha is now going to get that healing minion to try and get some core charge stacks, but I think Sync1 knows that the Alpha's there. Now Alpha, 3 core charge stacks. Where's the farm directive? He needs to do it quickly. He's going to run out, and he is going to go with the core charge in. There's farm directive, misses. Everyone splits. The Needle Alpha going to go into reboot. Does use the termination protocol, but will it be enough lovely Vanguard to keep him alive? But somehow he goes down. Vox just barely gets the first blood before Kestrel does. Now Uni received Fountain. SNK was so low, but he survives, fountaining himself. Uni one shot once again is not going to hit. Somehow that fight lasted a full minute because Uni managed to do 2 one-shots.
Yep, and I mean, Uni on this Castro definitely played well. A lot of aggression onto lane, But like you mentioned before, Chingy really needs to just juggle that core charge into the prime directive. That is where your bulk of your damage is. And if you cannot juggle and try to balance that out, then generally as an alpha, you will just want to consider just using your aftershock proc. That is just not enough damage considering the amount of health coming through on guessing, or rather the amount of fortified health that guessing X on this Finn can actually provide. And we think about this, right? Oh, another fight will be breaking up. Maybe not, but
yeah, a little bit of poking lane. Shingy gonna go in. One core charge stack has been got. There's a second. Shingy going very low. They're gonna have to use the ultimate. No, you're gonna go off. Yes, you are. Somehow Shingy does manage to get the ult, and there's going to be a Vanguard from Arden, not onto the Shingy though. Shingy's going to be okay. Rebooting, lovely gauntlet, going to come down, and Alpha gets the Fortress. Uni is so low on the back line, going to get some glimmer shots, missing out on Mr. Gem, and the Resonance bounce picks up the kill onto Uni. Slightly poor positioning from the members of Renegade. They're letting their Kestrel die to bounces. Now Shingy has not got any ultimate available. There's going to be a prime directive. He wants to get guessing X. He thinks he's not going to get Mr. Jim, which is fair enough. He gets the Finn, tries to prime directive away, but there's nothing. He's just going to get a bit of damage onto Mr. Jim. Not an ace. Well played by Shingy. One shot block from Mr. Jim does manage to keep him alive, and he's going to push the wave into turret and back off. No Crucible was available for SNK at that time, so the Force Core did land, but it wasn't really that much of a problem for Shingy.
Yeah, but now Sinquan looking over to Sinquan, looking over on that little fortress there. You do see he's just inching closer to the aftershock. In fact, if he do go to shop now, he can just easily pick up the aftershock for himself. But the first turret of that of Bren Esports will fall. So overall, we still do see a gold lead going over to the side of Bren Esports, and only that's because of the initial kills and basically maybe the rotations coming out as well. But Uni definitely playing very well on this Castro, but there was just one part of the team fight, like you mentioned, just mispositioning coming out from Uni, and that is quite questionable. But Chingy even going in, just not quite putting out enough damage. Although we might, we do see, generally Alpha plays very, very well against that of Vox because of the amount of burst with your core charges in your prime directive. But we see that Uni just lack that. I don't want to say lack burst because it's quite obvious that he has got the burst, but just lack damage for some odd reason, probably because of the fortified health coming through from Finn.
Yeah, Uni didn't seem to have that much damage, mainly because he didn't land that many glimmer shots onto Jim. He got quite a few on Sync 1. But Mr. Jim managed to dodge out most of the glimmer shots that Uni was throwing out. Uni going to walk towards that second Tyrant. Still can't quite afford it. No Tornado Trigger as the third item for Uni. So that is a slightly different Kestrel build. Maybe trying to kite Vox in a 1v1. As opposed to just trying to burst him down with those glimmers. And Alpha farming up pretty well, still an aftershock, and double tier 2 defense for Shingy. Really wants to survive this reboot without needing to get a clockwork.
Yep, another, just lane pressure coming up from Bren Esports now. However, unable to push this turret down. They do not quite have the wave, but Mr. Jim will be out farming, just trying to clear this wave and hopefully push this one out. Force Accord comes through, but will be blocked out by SNK.
Yep, Shingy has picked up an Atlas at the shop. This is active in, and there's going to be the gauntlet a bit wasted though from SNK. It's not actually going to stand there up. Uni going very low from the. That's his stun, going to be blocked up by the Crucible, and Alpha is going low. He's going to survive that basic attack from Vox. But Alpha's still got the Termination Protocol available. So Shingy looking to push down this wave with Uni. And what is going to be the play? What are they going to do? They're going to try and fight or push. It looks like they're going to go for the push strategy. They're going to try and take this turret, and this is going to be a fight. Bren Esports know what's going on. Kestra's going to try and go on the backside, take this turret down. Turret will fall, but what is going to happen in response? Uni is going to go down himself to Sync 1, most likely. Sync 1 using that healing flask, and will be able to get the kill. Alpha does go down into me, but will he survive? Yes, but will it be enough? No. Double kill for the Fortress, and in the end, 2 turrets go down to Renagades, but will it be worth it? Because Bren Esports can probably get a gold mine and a turret here.
They can try for this gold mine, or maybe SNK with that minion candy.
Once again, that's the twice SNK has done this. Gone for the minion candy on the gold mine. Vox gets the turret, but minion candy is doing so much more. One guys, a one shot onto guessing X, and what is by Fortress just to secure the kill. But that gold mine's still candied. So well played by SNK. Takes his own life. Just so Alpha used Prime Directive. Oh, Alpha didn't use it. We're not going to find out yet. But SNK took his own life, saved the fountain in the Crucible, so that he could put a candy on the gold mine. And so in the end, Renagades were ahead. They lost 3 kills, but they got 2 turrets, whereas Bren Esports only got 1.
Yeah,
so well played by SNK.
Yeah, but the goal lead to still go over to the side of Bren Esports. It is not a lot. It is about, say, 400. Yeah, approx 300-400 gold to the side of Bren Esports. But overall, I want to say the items-wise, Mr. Jim definitely coming out on top versus Uni. Mr. Jim is sitting on the shift, breaking point. Oh.
Yeah, here we go. There's going to be a fight. Men's got payout. Does trigger the fight. That's going to be a silence on Alpha. And she misses her Prime Directive onto anyone. She could be in a bit of trouble now. But Force Squad does land. But that's where Alpha wants to be. Kestrel gets killed onto a Vox. And the Prime Directive does not land onto anyone. It missed it. I think it went through a Wolf. So I think that does solve the argument. But we need to check the replay to be sure. Another Prime Directive does not quite connect. And there's nothing for Renegade to take, though. They got a kill. And now what are they going to do? They're going to get a kill into Guessing X, I guess. But Goldmine was taken. They're nowhere near the tier 3 turret. And the sentries on the other side of the map as well.
Yeah, I think they should have just ignored Guessing X and probably just push for that tier 3 turret, but then we are seeing them do it now. Uni just started stepping and clearing those minions. Sync1 and Mr. Jim trying to hold lane for as long as possible. The wave is just going down very, very quickly. Sync1 maybe looking for something, maybe not.
Yeah, that's the problem. The Renegade really wanted to get something out of that. Uni and Shingy wanted to try and get an objective out of the 2 kills, but they were just on the wrong side of the map to do so. So that means they're going to have to back off towards their own jungle, be happy with the kills, know that they can win the fight if they do get in that situation. And Uni has gone for the stuff step build. He's gone for Tornado Trigger Tyrants and a breaking point. What do you think about this pickup for Kestrel?
Well, it is not high crit. If Uni will not rely on those glimmer shots, then the basic attack will hit like a truck. So that is one thing maybe we have to understand, because of the amount of dives coming through from the side of Bren Esports. Maybe Uni thinks that he cannot just stand and shoot like a caster, right? And instead he just needs to start to step his way out of team fights, and with the breaking point coming up,
Force Squad does come through. Force Squad does hit onto Shingy. Fox stacking up that breaking point a little bit, and Shingy's going to quite low. Echo on the Force does hit Shingy in, and that's going to be Power Directive through. Gauntlet comes down, and Fortress gets the kill onto Kestrel in the end. Alpha can use that ultimate. Does get a lot of damage onto Sync1, but he will Alpha now. Will get taken down by the Fortress. SNKEA is the last one left alive. What can he do? He can run. He can run for quite a while. He could even pick up some extra boots if he wanted to. No, he can't afford extra boots anymore. And so that means SNK going to run towards Sentry. He's got 10 seconds. Will it be enough? That Sync1 is going up. He echoed the Vanguard to try and survive for 5 more seconds to defend the ace. Will it be enough? He's by Sentry. No, it will not. Ace for Bren Esports. Uni is up though. So there's going to be a one-shot, one attempt to steal this Kraken. I doubt it will come through, but you never know. Uni's probably going to go to the top of the lane, try and snipe this one away. And Bren Esports have to just body block. There we go.
Yeah. I mean, we have a Finn, quite a large body mass there for that block, and Uni not even trying. Oh, there you go. The one-shot one directly on Guessing X on that Finn. But we see that the fortified health really keeping the entirety of Bren Esports together, and thus I guess that's why Bren Esports don't want to quite ban out that alpha, because it's not quite a threat to them at all. They know of a way.
Kestrel, Uni was farming his jungle, and he was almost going to get caught up, but he uses the boots to get away. That was a bit too close for comfort for Uni. He's now going to pick up himself an infusion, but has not got boots available for this Kraken push. And Bren Esports able to get the tier 2 turret for free because of that, because of Uni just farming up for no apparent reason. And now Bren Esports pushing, trying to look for the win, I reckon. Force Accord easily blocked, but there's the Echo going to be used. He wants to get Uni with this Force Accord, and it's not going to be used quite yet. Guessing it's just waiting for that risk. There is. There's going to be a Force Accord, great, and a Force Accord on the Gauntlet as well. Echo comes down, Voxing, gets stunned up by the Gauntlet. Mr. Jim taking a lot of damage, but he's going to do even more onto Uni. Uni falls. Sync1 is going to get left alive. Mr. Jim did fall in the end to Shingy, and Shingy's like, you know what, I'm just going to go. Let me get this ace. 1 kill onto the Finn, and now Alpha's going to turn her attention back to the Kraken. She's probably going to get this one turret. She's going to get this one turret, and possibly even the next one.
Yeah, Kraken just so very tanky in this current update. It's so difficult to just bring Helga down, especially with an alpha that you do not quite do, enough basic attack damage. A lot of your damage will come from your abilities, but with Uni around, yep, they will be able to take the Kraken down, Helga down, before she takes that turret. But in that team fight, we see Mr. Jim just building up so much stack in such short period of time, and then you have Uni just struggling so hard to build stacks, and before even she's just bursted down. And Sync1, being there just not helping at all. Alpha don't quite have a very direct form of peel. What the Alpha can provide in a lot of team fight is going into far front and just force your entire enemy, force the team lineup from the enemy just to target you, and then you just go bang in their faces. Hopefully your backlines can just do an insane amount of damage and just score that ace for you, right? So that's what Alpha can provide. It's a very indirect form of peeling, but it works out. But SNK just very, very low, but will survive through the onslaught coming out from Kraken.
Yeah, SNK's fine. He can survive. He can survive the Kraken. You've got Shingy and Uni that can tank for you. Uni is now fully built completely. Doesn't need any more farm. So this lane should be going to Shingy really if you're being a nice laner, and you should give your jungler farm whenever they need to be fully built. So Shingy has got that aftershock into Dragon's Eye, not going for any kind of pierce despite the Aegis on Vox. So going for more damage oriented, and Bren Esports going for the gank. Alpha, no, he gets the triple prime directive with absolute fine. That's a block on to the Atlas. Now there's going to be a lovely gauntlet and a second gauntlet. Sync1 is stuck in between a gauntlet and another one. And now Alpha needs to use the ultimate. Is going to do it in time. There's prime directive going in onto Fox. Going to get the ultimate onto Fortress instead, and that's going to be Shingy doing massive damage. Uni's going to be staying alive. Kraken is pushing down on the base. They're going to chase down Mr. Jim. Kraken's going to get the win if they don't get the kill anyway. Mr. Jim's going to try and port. I doubt he'll be able to. There's a scout trap. There's a crystal sentry. Alpha's going for the win, and Renegade. Oh, in fact, no, Mr. Jim's going to kill on to Uni. I thought Uni was going to be able to do it, but now Captain Sneak kill to SNK with the plays on the Arden. That will be game most likely, but actually Sync1 is up in 20 seconds, so maybe he can defend it, but Renegade is playing so well.
I honestly don't think, Sync1 can, defend against this both Chingy and the Kraken alone. I mean, he just lacks damage, to be completely honest, and that was prime example of good positioning coming out from Uni in that team fight. A Venn diagram dropped by Arden, and after which Uni just entered the second one away from the carry of Bren Esports, or rather away from Vox, and then just kited everyone from there. Basically started stepping everyone from there, building up a lot of breaking point stacks, and from there just put out so much damage that Vox had to make the run. If not, Vox would just easily gave away the ace. So overall, very well played coming out from RNG. But I believe RNG can have a cleaner game compared to what they had they just put down the early game pressure against Sync1 on this Crystal Fortress.
Yeah, they certainly let the game be extremely close between these two teams. There was not one team that was dominating from the start and snowballed. It was really just late game. Kestrel managed to outplay Vox, outdamage Vox pretty simply, and Alpha was kind of a distraction in the end. Got some really nice ultimates off. I was begging Alpha to ult, but no, he just knew. Shingy knew that all he had to do was wait till the Prime Directive was up, then use ultimate, then use Prime Directive. And I think it was well played by Renegade to scale to late game. Once they realised they weren't going to snowball the early game, they let themselves scale, and they won the late game team fights quite decisively. Apart from 1v1s between Vox and Kestrel. Yeah,
I mean, basic attack wise, I had thought that Uni would have came out on top, but that glimmer shot miss when Vox is just constantly putting out the amount of attacks coming through, just a barrage of attacks. Uni cannot quite afford to just stand there and fire out a glimmer shot, because we saw in that little short skirmish between Uni and Mr. Jim on that Vox, Mr. Jim immediately built up so much stack of breaking point and just basic attacking that of Castro, and Castro really had no chance whatsoever if Casual was just stood there and just fire off those glimmer shots. But overall, very, very well played from Bren Esports. They could have just ended the game as well. I mean, they could have just completed the game there and then. But there were some misplays here and there. They were kind of getting very complacent going up against RNG. But overall, I think that, putting all their firepower onto one alpha is definitely one of the biggest mistakes coming out from Bren Esports.
Yeah, that is never a good idea when you've got a Kestrel dealing damage on the back line. I think the main problem with Bren Esports is that they picked Fortress jungle because it just doesn't seem like a very good pick at the moment. You're literally, you force your carry to do all the damage or else you're going to lose the game. Alpha just wasn't going to die to Fortress. Kestrel wasn't going to die to Fortress realistically because Kestrel built a Aegis. And so Fortress's Aftershock is just not that important. Once you get to late game, you need to get either Broken Myth or Shattered Glass or Dragon's Eye or some more damage for them to start worrying about Fortress. I think it would have been smarter for Bren Esports to pick the Alpha themselves. Alpha now, 4 games out of 4, still with that 100% win ratio. It's working. It's working for every team that's playing her so far. And I'm surprised that it is working as well as it is, but that's sometimes how the game works. So I think the Fortress pick was all right to counter Kestrel, but it's not that good in terms of the composition working together. And also just as a pick at the moment, Crystal Fortress doesn't seem too strong.
Yep, I mean, Fortress good to counter Kestrel, but it's not the surefire way. It is not, you pull the trigger, the bullet immediately comes out. No, it's not that kind of play. And mixing it up with a Finn, it works on paper very well. You do not have the chase. Yeah, true, right? But then what you have is a lot of fortified health. You can kind of just protect Vox in the back lines. You just create a lot of chaos and havoc for your Vox, so your Vox can just kite nicely, just dance around Finn, receive the extra fortified health, and on top of that, the slight burst here and there that Fortress provides with, attack of the pack, and so I guess on paper it will work, but in practice itself, as long as the gauntlet comes out and the entire team of a RNG can just attack from the outside, it will be quite difficult.
Yeah, I definitely think Finn and Fortress don't have that much synergy together, but Draft is ready for the second game of the day, second game of this series between Bren and Elite 8. So without further ado, let's head on into the draft.
Yeah, so coming into this draft, granted, the side of RNG, very, very shaky with this alpha in the mid-game, kind of cannot quite find the answer, so maybe RNG will not prioritize on this alpha. Black Feather will probably be the first ban coming through, but just basing it off in the first game between Renagades and Impunity, we do see them, or rather not the Renagades, Renagades against Impunity, we do see the Ryan ban coming through from Renegades. And in the second game itself, we do see the Lyra being banned out. So Renegade's definitely sticking very closely to the meta. And of course, Lyra is prioritized, Renegade's definitely putting a lot of emphasis on this Lyra as well for the extra sustain. As we see from the previous game, Renegade's banning out Lyra as well.
Yeah, I think the Lyra ban could come through. I think Ryan would be quite a ban from Renegades again. But they won with Alpha before, so just first pick it. Ban Ryan, pick Alpha, and then see what Bren Esports have got to try and counter that Alpha, because it's not an easy hero to counter. Rhyme does well, but even then, if Alpha plays well and dodges your Winter Spires, you basically have no damage and no sustain if you don't land Winter Spires.
Yep, but the teams will be taking the time, as to just decide on the first ban coming through. But I'll not be surprised if the side of RNG just settle easily for, like you mentioned, ban out the Rhyme, pick out the Alpha. But if you do ban out the Rhyme, then the opposing team might just, Bren Esports might just ban out the Alpha overall. And then if you were to pick anything, in fact, then Bren Esports might just, pick up the weapon petal for themselves. There you go.
They're going to ban the petal, so
we will be seeing a petal being banned up first in the first phase of draft. And as for the side of Bren Esports, they can easily remove the Alpha if they are having issues with it, but I don't quite think that will come through.
Yeah, it's not necessary to ban Alpha as a first ban on B side, but you never know, they might just go, I don't want to play against it, it's too annoying to try and counter this Alpha, we have to draft our entire composition around just trying to counter one hero. And no, they're going to ban the Black Feather instead, so that's just a getting rid of the meta, getting rid of the most annoying hero. So what are Renegades going to do? They've got the Vox able to be picked, but also you cannot just ignore Alpha until the last few picks, because we've seen how strong she can be if let through against any kind of ranged or any kind of hard carry. Alpha just does so well against it. So another counter to Alpha is just don't pick anything like Kestrel or Vox or Ringo or Baron or Petal. Don't pick any of them. Just go something like an Ozo with a lane glaive. Alpha's useless against that comp because there's no one for her to burst down and dive. So that's another decent counter, but that requires you changing your entire draft and you're changing your entire team comp just to counter one hero.
Yep, and the meta is in such a way that it's just so difficult to pull out those heroes, especially that of Glaive, when you have Vox just running around, when you have Black Feather as well. But we do see the run being banned out, and of course, for the side of Bren Esports, they are settling for themselves a Vox. Once again, not a surprise. Mr. Jim on that Vox was just playing tremendous, but just couldn't close out the game in the end.
If I was Renegades here, I would leave Alpha open, ban Lyra, and then if Bren Esports do not pick Alpha here, Renegades just go for Kestrel Alpha once again. Go for an identical team comp and see, okay, Bren Esports, what are you going to do? And that is why Bren Esports are going to pick Alpha themselves. Because if they didn't, I'm 95% sure Renegades would go, okay, let's just go the same comp as last game, and we're going to win this. So that's smart play from Bren Esports to get their carries first. They still have a lot of captains they can pick. There's Lance, Grace, Churnwalker. Listen to me, SCA. Churnwalker's actually all right. Please at least think about picking him in some situations. If the enemy has a lot of dive, Churnwalker's so good. You can land all your chains, distribute that damage. Imagine an Alpha Prime Directive. You know that burst down 400 damage? Add 30% onto that to everyone. And that's so much damage with this Alpha Vox comp. I think it really could work. I'm just hoping, let's show you. I'm hoping.
Well, we can only hope. The side of RNG, go for the saw. There's nothing stopping you.
Yeah, if I can hope, then you can hope for the saw push lane as well.
Well, I mean, that's quite honest. I mean, Alpha can go up to lane to gang the Prime Directive. That is quite an honest truth. But go for the Saw against the Fox. There is nothing stopping you. Saw is just so strong now. But they will settle for that Crow. Nothing wrong in that as well. We've seen some Crow going up against Alpha. In one of the games, it didn't quite work out though. So I'm quite interested to see how this will actually pan out with the Ringo last pick on RNG.
I am surprised, confused about this Ringo last pick. I can only assume it's going to be a CP Ringo to try and counter the Vox. And the last pick, Catherine, well, that's great if it's a CP Ringo, because Catherine just stands next to whoever's been ulted, pops Stormguard, and Ringo's going to basically kill himself. So I think it's a very different draft from Renegades. They are trying to counter the Alpha with a Ringo. Even though Ringo has 0 disengage and Alpha has a ton of engage, it's going to be interesting to see what Renegades are going to do with this Ringo, whether we're going to go double weapon, CP Crawl, or CP Ringo, or double CP. You know, that's all the options that they have. And so I think CP Ringo makes the most sense, just because Weapon Ringo, yes, it's quite good against Vox, but it's not good at all against Alpha. In previous patches, when Ringo was quite good, Alpha was always a counter, because she could just dive in, keep diving in. Ringo had nothing to disengage from her. As soon as she gets slowed, she can just A or B. And I think, yes, Crystal Ringo is like the only thing that Renegades could do that might work out against this Fox.
Okay, wait. So we all know Cruel's healing scales with CP.
Yes.
Right? The health barrier scales with CP.
They're not going to go CP Crawl. I don't think they should go CP Crawl Weapon Ringo either, because not be a good comp against this Alpha. Because Alpha doesn't care about your Spectral Smite damage, because if she just ults at the right time, your Spectral Smite is then useless.
Well, they can try to counter, right? You just put Spectral Smite onto Alpha, run double CP, something along those lines, Shatterglass, Echo, Ringo, and then you have an Aftershock Cruel. Works very well in terms of ganking against a Fox. You can just easily stick onto your Vox to smite this more damage, and yeah, I'm just throwing it out there.
Just thinking what Renegades could go with, because it is definitely an off-meta draft from them. The Ringo is just not expected. He's not been played a lot. He's not seen as that strong in the meta, and he's up against one of the most meta comps that there is, the Vox. So good at the moment. Alpha, we've seen so good at the moment, and Catherine is a solid captain to round off the team. Obviously, when you're last picking your captain, you don't have that many left on the table. Lyra and Arden were probably probably higher priorities, but they've been taken away. So Catherine's not a bad final pick to round the comp off. I still think Churmolka would have been so much better, because Crawl's going to dive in, so that's a guaranteed chain. Arden's going to dive in with the gauntlet, that's a guaranteed chain. Then you've just got to land one skill shot onto Ringo, and boom, you're easy. You get 3 chains, and you're going to win the team fight if you get that. So we're going to have to wait till maybe the final until we get to finally see a Churmolka. But let us know who you think is going to take away this match. Will it be Renegades bringing back the series 1-1 with their Ringo pickup, or will Bren Esports take Alpha to 5 wins out of 5? We're loading into the house to unfold. I'm so interested and so excited to see how this is going to work out.
Okay, so we are going to see a weapon uni, right? A weapon Ringo. And Chingy, they might just run double weapon, right? But according to you, and it is quite prevalent that Alpha works very well going into a weapon Ringo. There is really nothing stopping her to just jump on top of you. If you do twirling silver away, the biggest argument people can throw at me is, but I can twirling silver away. Well, I've got prime directive. Firstly, I've got my core charge as well.
Okay, there's no need to be that angry. They're just trying to make a point. Like, very, very angry.
I am known as the very angry person amongst all the casters in Vainglory 8 Southeast Asia. But it's just all in fun, it's the name of fun. But yeah,
it's all in fun until you get really angry.
Yes, there you go. But that argument does not stand valid at all, because this Alpha just has so much chase potential, and every Alpha ability that she uses to chase, she deals so much damage as well the moment she gets her aftershock rocket.
Yeah, I think that the aftershock is really going to be when Sync1 decides to actually try and fight anyone, try and go in against the Crawl. Stun onto Uni, a little bit of damage, but just wanting some stacks, and Uni doing quite a lot of poke back onto Mr. Jim and onto Guessing X, but it's not going to be that much. There's actually a Dragon Bug contract picked up by Guessing X, so he's going for a much more aggressive start than SNK, but look at Uni, he's taking a lot of damage from those minions when he tried to get the poke. Now Crawl is trying to see if he can catch someone out, but did stand on a scout trap, so that's not going to work. Guessing X now is going to try and steal this treant away from Crawl, maybe just get a stack. Crawl doesn't even want the treant, he just wants to farm up his own jungle, wait for Bren Esports to start it up, and then Crawl wants to steal it. So both teams just backing away. Bren Esports are as 3, and SNK is by himself. Could be a stun, will be, and that will be a Dragon Ball contract popped by Guessing X maybe at some point. There it is, going to be, and SNK will fall to Alpha with that Prime Directive. Shingy is in a bad position. Will the root land? Not quite. Shingy's going to try and chase down the Vox with that Dead Man's Rush. The DMR coming through, but Sync1 is on the back line. Shingy's going to fall. Bren Esports take the first 2 kills.
I personally don't like the Cruel, being picked going into an Alpha. I don't understand where Chingy maybe is coming from, that the smite, those stacks will reduce the amount of damage coming out from Sync1. But in the early game, it is just so difficult for a Cruel to go up against Alpha. Alpha, not exactly the squishiest hero where you can just burst down with a tension ball proc, where you can just burst down and just build stacks on with your breaking point. Because even before you actually build up your breaking point stacks, you would probably just be down already. So that is one thing maybe the side of RNG has to reconsider coming into the strat draft. Uni may be getting caught out, but not so. Guessing X will have to back up. So this is one thing. Like I mentioned, RNG really have to reconsider their strat draft coming into this game. Running double weapon power is not wrong at all. But running double weapon power and 2 very squishy heroes, in fact, Cruel with that health barrier nerf, coming in from the previous patch, or
Uni could be in a bit of trouble. He's going to have to use boots to try and run away. They're struggling for contract. Will it be popped? Yes, it will, but the healing flask comes out and is big for Uni, and a nice Achilles shot to make Mr. Jim take an extra turret shot means that Bren Esports and Renegade are both going to be quite defensive. I didn't really like what Mr. Jim did with his rotation, because he left the lane for so long. When he went down to help Alpha kill Crawl, that was fine. He then ported home, which I thought, okay, that's fine. But then he needed to go to lane. He went to the backs with Alpha. He lost about 5 or 6 CS that just died under turret because he was at the backs with Alpha. He didn't get as much ambient as he would have got CS in lane. That's the only mistake the Mr. Team did slightly make. But they're still reasonably ahead in gold, and he is getting some nice ambient with the Alpha. It's hurting his CS a bit, but he's even on Ringo, so it can't be that bad. But I think he could have been ahead of Ringo given how well the early game went for Bren Esports.
Yeah, but we do see a lot more items on Mr. Jim as well, or rather not a lot more, but Mr. Jim has got the Swifty in the pocket, whereas Uni don't quite have that prioritizing on those boots and the flash first and building into the Sorrow Blade as soon as he can get the gold for it. Whereas Mr. Jim can already get the Sorrow Blade after clearing maybe this minion. There you go. But a fight may just break up.
Yeah, a little bit of stack for Guessing X. Up to 8 stacks already, 2 a minute, doing quite well on the Catherine. And he's looking to see if there's anyone else. Alpha going into the bush, knowing Crawl isn't there, getting a few bit of damage. A core charge stack as well, just to make sure that they're ready in case Crawl decides to rotate up for a fight. But yeah, Synchron has got the Aftershock, but hasn't got level 6. So Mr. Jim's like, right, come on, let's go to your backs, Alpha. I want to get some farm. Let's get me towards late game as quick as possible.
Yeah, the flare is being used by Uni. Uni now picking up that Sorrow Blade and sitting on a Weapon Blade, whereas looking over to Mr. Jim can pick up the Weapon Blade, the Sorrow Blade, and immediately just going for the 6 hits, if not then a Lucky Strike as well. So he has enough gold for that, and let's just see what he will do.
Block, buy a block, no, Mr. Jim should have bought a block, not a Blazing Sound, because Crawl is now level 6, and so the From Hell's Heart will destroy him if it's if it does hit him. Sync1 now level 6 with that ultimate. So everyone's ready, everyone's got their ultimates available in the captains. But Bren Esports deciding not to fight. Mr. Jim's like, yep, I need to buy a block because Crawl has got his ultimate. No, he needs to buy weapon power defense apparently. So Mr. Jim completely ignoring what I'm saying, and he doesn't think that blocking anything is important.
Well, I mean, From Hell's Heart may not be a threat. May not be a threat for Mr. Jim now, or Mr. Jim is just very, very confident in his ability to just sidestep that ultimate coming out from Crawl. Maybe that is the case, but we do see Hellfire's Brew coming out onto Mr. Jim, not doing quite a lot of damage because it's not CP. And we do see Chingy just running away from Guessing X, who is rotating down into the shop.
Yeah, Mr. Jim going to pick up a healing tree and be fine. The Hellfire Brew is quite good in a team fight to engage it. And they're hyper-fiving Mr. Jim a little bit. He got all of the backs away from Alpha. So that's an interesting decision from members of Bren Esports to give Mr. Jim as much gold as possible and leave Alpha maybe a little bit first. She's not behind on Crawl by any means, but she could have been a bit ahead, I guess. And Mr. Jim is farming really well against Uni, as I said, because he took a little bit of jungle away. So now, will there be a fight? Go on, Bren Esports, go for it. And there's going to be a little bit of an engage, and Catherine's going to get a jungle by contract and a stack. There's From Hell's Heart, lands onto Alpha this time. Now Sigma going to go in, and there's going to be a Panda active. Will he get the ultimate off in time? Yes, he will, just barely using the Spectral Smite, but Alpha got his ultimate off. That's exactly what I was talking about. Spectral Smite does not work against Alpha if she uses her ultimate. It basically makes it pointless. Now Dragon by contract was used, but it's not anymore. And Shingy's going to try and do what he can. But Vox getting those rhythms bounces, and Shingy going to go in, but going to attack the Catherine. That's a lovely stun. Going to go on to Arden, actually, and now Catherine's not level 6. Arden used the fountain, and he has got the gauntlet ready to try and jump in if he wants to start the fight up, but Shingy is too low to go in. SNK, gauntlet very defensive. Alpha going to not get stunned, just barely able to survive that. Uni trying to kite, and that's going to be a blast but not quite going to have enough damage. That didn't hit SNK either. And so SNK going to take so much damage if that blast gem would connected would be an easy kill. But that's the Alpha over the wall, over the turret, over the wall. Turret decides that I think it was Guessing X was the first one to attack an enemy hero. So that was well played by Bren Esports. Shingy going to go down to the Alpha in the end, and this will be probably a gold mine and tier 1 turret for Bren Esports.
Wow, Alpha definitely coming in very, very strong for any teams that are playing her. And when I say teams that are playing her, it is quite a stark difference between how Bren Esports actually utilize the power spikes of Alpha as compared to how RNG actually used the Alpha in the previous game. Maybe RNG has got something up the sleeves thinking that Ringo and Crawl can counter Alpha, but that is likely not the case. We do see both Uni and Chingy having that breaking point, but it's just not stacking enough. There is just not enough consistent damage. Now Uni may be in trouble.
He tried to get that tier 1 turret for himself, trying to sneak it away, but Guessing X did boots in. SNK taking the damage. Shingy going to get the prime directive onto Shingy. Sorry, Sync 1 going to get the prime directive onto Shingy as well. And now, are they going to go for the gold mine? Is that the play? I'm not sure yet. They will most likely start it up now.
Yep, they might just start it out now. I mean, they will be, and there is nothing much that the side of RNG can do. No abilities to steal, no universal out. They can throw out like that, a solar stuff, or one shot, one steal. However, they might just attempt to, but nope, they will not. It will go over to Bren Esports, and we see this. It is very similar game as compared to the last as well, right? Bren Esports kind of owning in the early game, trying to snowball as hard as possible. But then, in a change of tide, just one mistake or two coming up from Bren Esports, and RNG can immediately just capitalize on those very small mistakes. So I'm not counting RNG out yet. I mean, just looking at the gold itself, it might quite be just look very, very sad for the side of RNG. The side of Bren Esports only holding on to 3 kills, but already 4,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, definitely playing well with the objectives to make sure they get as far ahead as they can. Double breaking point, as you said, being picked up. No Bonesaw yet, though. So the armor on Vox and Arthur is doing quite a bit well. This from helps out. Going to come out, going to stun up Vox. He hasn't got available, but he has got a double tornado trigger. But of course, going to get the Spectral Smite, picking up the first kill. Now, what can Sync 1 do? He has got a Dragon's Eye, so he's stacking up. Shingy can take a lot of damage, but Alpha's got Spectral Smite stacks. He's going to get the ultimate off in time. He's going to boots away and going to save his ultimate for a little bit. There's the Hellfire Brew. Not going to finish off Sync 1. But it does do a little bit of damage on the turret. Nope, there was a barrier, so that's not going to do anything. Now Sync 1, is he going to go in? There's a stun on to the Ringo. He's going to get the ultimate. No, he's going to use Prime Directive instead, so he does not get Alpha, does not get the ultimate off, but he will respawn. Shingy going to try and get some stacks. Sync 1 going to go in Prime Directive onto Uni now with one core charge. Does get it. Needs to get another base attack and will do. And now Sync 1 on the chase. Going to go for the Arden now. No, Arden with the baits. He dodges the Prime Directive. And even though it looked like Renegade was going to win that fight, Alpha just came through.
Well, Alpha definitely came through, and lucky for Alpha, really. I must say it is just pure luck. But now SNK going very low. Bren Esports just diving under the turret to just take down SNK almost immediately. Mr. Jim just putting out so much damage with double tornado trigger and one Sorrow Blade. So what I was gonna say earlier on is just down to luck, right? Jingye was very, very unlucky then. He had a lot of stacks onto Alpha, but just couldn't find the smite at all. Hellfire Brew didn't quite pick up Alpha. And at the end of the day, Alpha did go into the Prime Directive, but did not have enough time to actually pop that ultimate. Had Alpha actually popped out her ultimate, then it would probably be, an ace, a probable ace for the side of Bren Esports. However, we do see a little more fight coming up from RNG now. They're not going to allow Bren Esports to just win, or have an easy win at least.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be close. Crawler's waiting on the top of their double ultimate, and that's what Mr. Jim can do. He can dodge it with the Sonic Zoom. Guessing X is going to go down, but he's going to get the rush time down in time. Alpha now trying to turn around, but he's going to lose his Dragon's Eye stacks because he's not basic attacking anyone. And Guessing X slightly out of position, no block to get himself out the gauntlet. He went for Atlas second because up against double weapon, and Echo third. Shingy taking so much damage just from that Alpha aftershock proc, plus a bit of poke from Mr. Jim's Solar Blade double tornado trigger Vox. Now Renegade going to start off this gold mine. Most likely they're going to be able to secure it unless Bren get a fight and get an ace. Then I think Bren Esports will be able to secure this gold mine. And now Renegade, they're going to back off. So Bren Esports could start it up if they have a good map awareness. Guessing X, yeah, he's making the shot calls. We know they're backing off. This is going to be an easy gold mine. There's not going to be a steal from Renegade unless that flare was spotted out by SNK. No, that's well played by Bren Esports.
Yep, very good rotations coming up from Bren Esports, just scaring RNG away so that, scaring them away, putting them, about half health, forcing them to just, go back to base, if not just go back to farming, and then they immediately just turn onto that gold miner, securing 400 gold for each of themselves, now sitting at a 6k gold lead, or rather close to 6k, it's about 5-ish k gold lead for the side of Bren Esports. They are definitely looking very strong. But once again, I want to say, RNG not out of the game yet, right? We've seen RNG play it before, and in the previous game as well, Bren Esports secured about, have about the similar amount of gold lead, but Bren Esports can't, or rather RNG still managed to find a comeback and just capitalize the amount of mistakes, the mistakes coming out from Bren Esports. Guessing X may be caught out. How Firebrew coming out on Sync 1.
Yeah, Sync 1 used the Atlas because he thought Quill was going to engage at the same time, but he did not in the end. Now Renegade looking to try and seize this turret, but Vox ported home to get an infusion. Uni going to run away from Guessing X, has higher tier boots, so able to... I'm not sure how, but Uni managed to run away from Guessing X. And there's going to be the last shot coming down. Does not get the silence it was about time. Alpha not going to get into reboot, actually. She was stunned up as well. And that is going to be Wingo taking a lot of damage there from the Vox. Vox just 1v1ing Wingo like it's nothing. Single going to respawn out of that farm directive. That's going to be another. So out of termination protocol. That farm directive is going to hit Shingy. That core charge is going to hit SNK. One more is not quite enough. Bren Esports. So in solo, Sync 1 survives on a sliver. Is he going to go over the type with the farm directive? Yes, he will. That's Uni going to die. That's the play. Sync 1 with the Alpha. And that's a double kill. And that is going to be easily probably a tier 2 turret for Bren Esports. Alpha's just looking unbeatable at the moment.
I don't know. In that team fight, it just looked like Mr. Jim wasn't touched at all. I mean, let's all be honest, right? If had Mr. Jim just, been pulled down by Uni, Mr. Jim could have just easily went down. But considering the amount of damage Mr. Jim has as compared to Uni, 14 minutes in, Uni sitting at perfect farm, 145 CS, but looking over at Mr. Jim, he has 180 CS, right? 179 now, okay? So, 180. And it's close to full build. It has a double tornado trigger, 1 Tyrant's Monocle, a Sorrow Blade as well. How are you going to beat this beast, these beasts coming out from Mr. Jim? I mean, you can have Chingy constantly sticking onto Mr. Jim, but that is just gonna, Chingy will just be busted down by Mr. Jim. And then if Uni just close an eye, just allow Mr. Jim to just poke from the back, there is no way whatsoever that, RNG can win. The only way RNG can win is just to all 3 members just jump onto Mr. Jim, eliminate him almost immediately, and then turn their attention, all that they have onto that Alpha. But then again, this is
here we go. That's going to be the attention turned onto Mr. Jim. That's exactly Echo using the blast hammer, and Catherine's going to try and run out the gauntlet, but has not got a block. As I said, water used by Guessing X. Will it be enough? Yes, with the Fountain Atlas onto Wall. Wingo trying to start step, but does not get 2 basic attacks, only gets 1. So Guessing X survives. But as you said, Renegade, it's like they're listening to you, Luxury. They had to dive Mr. Jim, kill him, and then it's pretty simple fight from there. They just win the fight.
Yeah, I mean, like mentioned, right? It is a very easy fight for Renegades. Considering all forms of Sync 1 maybe coming to look first.
All forms of Sync 1, he's diving in, he's got a lance onto Ringo, he's going to do quite a lot of damage, but I'm lagging, and Sync 1's doing a lot of damage to Ringo, and Crawl gets the Kraken in the end. Sync 1's going to try and use his ultimate, he will be able to get the termination protocol off, whereas Prime Directive, it's not out for another second, and so Sync 1's going to put in a bit of trouble. Mr. Jim is alive, he's going to be Atlas, and actually that is going to be a death. The first death for Sync 1, he gets shut down. Now Mr. Jim's going to try and take this Kraken as quickly as possible. He hasn't got a breaking point, so he has significant damage on the Kraken without needing any heroes to do so. Wingo's going backwards from quite a long position away, so Mr. Jim, despite being 2v3, is able to poke this Kraken for quite a long time before he gets to its tier 2 turret.
Yep, I mean, Kraken now is down to 2/3 health, and as I mentioned earlier on, it is a very easy fight for RNG all in all, considering everything put together, right? You have that Alpha just jumping in, and I constantly say this as well, Alpha works best, right? Just be front lining all the damage.
And there's going to be Alpha trying to front line this damage strat. It's going to be a max range stun on. Nothing for the Vox. He's going to go down. Uni's going to go down as well to the Alpha. She's out this, but she doesn't care. She's going to get that Prime Directive from Core Charge in. Prime Directive that time does not connect, and now Sync 1's going to try and go into the Kraken, lose the Smite stacks as Cruel Smite's in. The Alpha has got no weakness stacks on her. She can go on Shing if she wants to. Kraken's going to basically die to the next turret anyway. But Sync 1 wants to make sure he gets as little damage as possible. Mr. Jim, once he gets Aegis, it's going to be so much harder for the members of Renegade, to kill Mr. Jim, because their entire team fight focus is kill Mr. Jim, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, considering everything, right? And even it just follows my, I want to say it's a theory for me that people who pick Alpha in their team comms, right? They have an indirect pill because they just jump in with their prime directive, with their core charge, just put themselves frontward at the front of the wall. Have everybody just rain damage on the Alpha, and you have your weapon carry just at the back, just poking, right? Just putting out damage bit by bit, just, you know, stacking those breaking point stacks, and it will be really a mess afterwards if you just allow the Alpha to go through like that. Like
Essentially gone down. That's gonna be a silence coming through. It's not blocked, so there's no fountain, no crucible, no echo. Shingy's going to get the kill onto Vox though. Now Synquad's going to try to place out. Sentry is going to be defeated for the time, and Alpha prime directive over the wall. Is he going to go for it? Nope, not going to get that in time. And that was a very interesting play from Guessing X. Got the silence down onto SNK. Crucible didn't block it, and Shingy going to try and pull home. He probably could have got home anyway. That's going to be an easy kill for the Alpha. Atlas from Shingy still going to try, but actually Catherine gets the kill in the end. Bracken is not up though. So what is the call from Bren Esports? They're going to go to it and wait? Or what they're going to do? They now don't know what to do, and they're going to just wait for Kraken. They could have got the tier 3 turret if they knew Kraken wasn't up, but now it's kind of annoying for them.
Yep, and Chingy as well has to play very much like the Alpha, right? Jump onto Mr. Jim, put out as much stack onto Mr. Jim as possible, act like an indirect peel for Uni on this weapon Ringo. That way, all the damage is rained on to Chingy. I mean, Chingy has got Atlas Pauldron, has got Aegis, but is building more weapon attack and have got a Lucky Strike. I would have preferred if Chingy maybe settled for a tankier build. That way, SNK getting
SNK once again, as you said, being caught out. What's he going to do? He's going to go over the wall, but is that going to be enough? Blast Drummer comes down, and that means the Echo is not ready. He's going to use it now. So that's the second goal. That's so defensive from SNK, forced to use both gauntlets just to disengage. Bren Esports just have a free Kraken. There's really nothing Renegade can do here. They go for a fight, then SNK is just far too low to even try and do it. But it looks like they have to try and fight. If they steal this Kraken, it could be the game for them. And now Guessing X are going, right, let's go and fight. Alpha going to try and go in. That's going to be the Atlas Pauldron, not popped by Alpha. There it is, going to hit the Ringo. Core going to get max range stun onto the Captain, but Vox, meanwhile, is building up so much damage onto Arden. He gets the first blood. He gets the first blood of this fight. And now Alpha going to try to go into Ringo against the Alpha, who's stealing the Kraken. But will it be enough? That means that now Brendan will have a tough decision. They're going to go for the win. They're going to go for the base race. 33 seconds on the SNK. I think they have enough damage, but I just don't know, Luxuria.
I mean, looking at the model damage or the items that Mr. Jim has, I would be surprised if they don't quite end the game just yet. But we have SNK and Chingy coming up very, very soon if they do not take this down. If they actually spawn, SNK may find an answer to this. SNK is out, will not be able to do much. The crystal definitely falling really quickly, and the second game will go over to the side of Bren Esports, and a mistake coming out from SNK really causing them on the side of RNG the game.
Yeah, it didn't seem like that bad a problem because SNK was low, but they can try and fight around this Kraken. You lose your captain immediately. Both Echo, both Gauntlet and Blastrum were all on cooldown. They couldn't use neither captain could use their ultimate, but the problem with that was that SNK was at about a quarter health, so all Mr. Jim had to do a couple of basic attacks, finish off SNK, and then the fight's so much easier for the side of Bren Esports. They just had to dive in, kill Ringo. Alpha had no problem, and after all these games, we have a 5 out of 5 wins on Alpha. So I guess some team's going to try and come out with a counter soon. Rhyme is obviously the main counter to Alpha, but if you just ban that away, then I wonder what some teams are going to try and do to counter this in the final.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't know. Like you said, 5 out of 5 games Alpha have been in. Alpha's team always win. And a few times you see RNG maybe have got something on this Alpha, just removing Mr. Jim first and then concentrating their firepower onto the Alpha afterwards. Kind of worked for RNG, but it didn't quite work on the end, because if Alpha do not turn her backs onto RNG, if Alpha just do jump in onto not Mr. Jim, but then it is Uni. There you go. If Alpha just prime directive onto Uni, immediately bursted down. So no true counter or check coming onto this Alpha yet. Maybe the teams have to start considering a ban for Alpha.
Yeah, it was banned before in one game, second ban. That's definitely something that could be coming and something we might be seeing later on in these drafts. And obviously this third and fourth place playoff is 1-1, but the third round will be played off stream. And now we're going to head into a 10-minute break. And when